Okay guys, here we are with another how-to video. We're going to go through sharpening this Benchmade crewware steel mini Adamas. So let's jump into it and see how we sharpen this beast, shall we? Alright, so the first thing I see with the Adamas here is we've got a pretty standard shaped blade with quite a belly out there, and so being a fairly standard shape with one curve being on our belly, a short blade, I'm thinking that this traditional line up the blade with an imaginary line between the heel and the tip is probably going to be our best bet. So let's check that out and see how well that works. We'll just tighten that into the clamp there and throw it in the system. Lock it in and put a little Sharpie marker on here, and let's see how everything will work for us. I guess we better remove the lapping film and go to one of the stones. So we're going to use a 12 grit here to get us started, and I think we're on too steep an angle there, so we're going to take that down a bit. And look at that. All right, so I'm seeing we're getting to the edge all the way up to about there, and then we're on the shoulder, but not the edge necessarily. Now I do see a little bit of variation in the current angle, but let's try kicking that back. So we're gonna try this again, because that seems to be what I'm getting to work most of the time, is taking that belly and tip back. So we'll take that approach. Yep, once again, look at that. So that is going to be our best bet for the angle on this. That is getting everywhere we need it to hit. We're going to throw on a 400 grit here and go to work. See what we can do with this. So again, with your blade, don't be shy about testing it out. Move it around. Find the position that works. If it's not getting what you expect, it's not giving you the results, you're not taking the edge off like you expect to, move it. Do something drastic. Make a change. Test it out until you get that result right where you want it. And then you can get to work. This is a much lower angle than I do on most of my blades and most of what I've done over the past few weeks here with the videos that I've done. And I can see it in the blade. If we look at and compare this, I don't know how well you can see it there, but if we look at those two blades, so this is one I did recently, and there's a lot less edge on this blade here than there is on this one. And so that alone tells you that, because the thickness is about the same, so that tells you that we're at a lower angle on this one. All right, so we go to work. I'm not working with the most aggressive. We'll decide in a moment here if I really need to change to that or not. But I'm working with a 400. We're going to give it just a few passes. I do see that we're removing all the way to the edge. We're apexing. I'm not quite feeling the burr there, but it does feel like it's probably close. I'm going to go ahead and flip it over. And we'll do a little work on this side. I probably do need to move down to the 250. From my understanding, crewware is a pretty hefty steel, pretty hard. We're kind of getting there on that. That belly is about there, so I'm going to go ahead. We're going to continue with the 400 and see if we can get it here. I mean, after all, I'm just getting started. I'm only, what, 2 or 3 minutes into actually sharpening. So we can give it some time. And of course, if we can get the job done with a 400 grit rather than a 250, then it's going to be a lot easier to make this blade real pretty. Oh yeah, we're getting a burr right there. All right, let's do it. Let's make this work. Maybe we can make up for the lack of aggressive on the stone with just being aggressive in our number of passes, huh? Yeah, that tip and belly, we've got it pretty good. So we're really just looking for that burr on the back end of that knife, working the heel here. So that's where we're going to do it. And that did feel like I was taking off a bit of burr there, so I think we're close. I think we are getting where we need to be. Definitely here. You might be able to hear it. Can you tell? Just with the sound. Definitely hear that we're dealing with more of the blade over there. I think it did have a little variation in angle. We would have had to go steeper to even it out, but this gets us a matching angle to what we have. I'm feeling a burr all the way back there. So we still need to work toward the very heel of the blade there, but we're getting pretty good otherwise. So I am going to concentrate most of my effort right here on the heel of that blade. That's where we need to take off the most, so we're going to do that. Let's get this cleaned up a bit here. Let's see, how much of that can we use? Might as well use it all if we can, right? There we go. That really wasn't too difficult. If we're matching the angle, so we're not really reprofiling, then sharpening's a quick business. It shouldn't take all that long to apex, get where we want to be. If we're just maintaining a knife, 5 minutes or less, you should have that knife sharp. The only time you're going to have to really sharpen longer than that is if you're explaining in a video like I am here, or if you're really reprofiling the knife. But if all you're doing is getting to work to do a maintenance sharpening, then you ought to be able to do that in 5 minutes. And again, that depends on whether we want to polish the blade or not, because right now, as it sits, this blade is sharp. We worked on it with the 400 grit stone. We possibly could have been a little more aggressive, a little faster if we'd gone to the 250 to start and actually getting that edge. But I do want to go ahead and clean this up a bit. So, see how sharp we can get it. So like I say, it's already there as far as sharpness. Beautiful. Beautiful sharp. Look at those curls. Beautiful sharp. So it's there, it's sharp. Now we need to take it a step further. And so going a step further is where we get into the stropping and the finer grits, doing some lapping films and things like that. So what I'm going to do is jump up to a 1200, and we're just going to refine that edge with the 1200. And as we step it up here, the only reason we're moving up is really just refining that apex, refining that micro edge. That's really all we're doing here, because the edge is sharp. You saw it cut just from the 400 grit. And you're going to need a microscope to see any more detail, any better cutting edge there. If you look at the paper and whether there's any serration or toothy edge to it, you're really going to have to look at it with something pretty fine to be able to even tell a difference. So it's at a good cutting edge. What we're doing here is just really refining that edge, polishing, if you will. And that is literally what the goal is at this point, is just to polish that edge. And a lot of that, how polished that gets, is just a matter of time. How much time you're able or willing to give it. That's really all it comes down to here. Okay, so we've got a pretty fine edge right there, just with the 1200 grit stone. And like I say, you're not going to notice much with cutting on this. You're not going to notice much difference. Still cutting nice and smooth. This is beautiful. Beautiful steel. You really can feel the difference with higher quality steel. I like this crew wear. I have to say, I like how smooth that is. That is beautiful how well that cuts. So here's where you're going to see some of the difference is how well it cuts hair. So we'll just clean that hand off there a little bit with shaving that. And it grabs a little bit with the 1200. So we're going to step it up then, and we're going to go to a strop. So I'll put the 1200 down. We'll throw a strop on here. Now stropping, we're always pulling away from the blade, away from the spine. And I'm just stropping with no compound here. Rather than moving to a strop with compound, I'll just move on to lapping films. But stropping alone is really going to refine that edge, and that's the purpose of these finer passes with strop or with a lapping film is just really to do an ultra fine polishing job on that edge. And we take off those micro burrs and latent pieces of steel there. Clean up that edge real good, and that should really make a difference in cutting. So now we take that in, and that cuts a lot smoother. Sometimes when I make bread, my bread dough gets stuck in those knuckles, so that's a good good thing to do to clean that off here. All right, so we've got a fairly refined edge. It's not polished, it's not mirror at this point, so let's take it up a notch. We'll put the 1 micron lapping film on here. Put a little oil on it to get it gliding there, and then we will just take a few passes with that. Boy, and that shoulder just took that right off of there. Almost all the way through that. So we're going to put a new piece on there. Since we are dealing with crew wear steel here, I decided to go ahead and bump up to a diamond lapping film. So we're going to do that. And we'll just give it a few passes here, and then flip it over and do the other side. And like I say, how shiny that gets, whether or not you get a mirror polish, it's really just about time and effort. How many passes you're willing to do, how much time you're willing to give it. We are getting pretty close there to a mirror with this. Now we're doing a 3 micron diamond right now. I don't know if you can see it, but I can sure see the shine coming out on that thing. That is kind of fun. And if you really want to get a perfect mirror polish, you've got to give it the time, and you've got to do the work from one grit to another. If you start at a 200 grit, then you really ought to move up to 400, and then from 400 to 600, and then from 600 to 1200, and do all those intermediaries, do all that work, so that you're refining that edge every step of the way, every bit you can. Then get to the lapping films. And even with the lapping films, you might want to start with the 9, go down to a 5, go down to a 3, go down to a 1, or whatever you've got, but highest to lowest, and run through them. All right, so let's take a look at that, see See if we can get everything cleaned off of there. Be real careful when you do that. I've done that before and just cut right through the paper towel into my finger. So there's your edge. How do you like that, huh? We'll see if we can get some pictures showing that, how that really is, how fine that. There you go. Beautiful, beautiful thing. So I hope that gives a little insight on lapping. Don't let it intimidate you. It's not really that big a deal. It's not something that you have to be too concerned with or afraid of to work with. It's something that anybody can do. So just practice, take your time, position the knife properly, and once you've got that angle, go to work. And then it's just a matter of giving it the time until you get the edge the way you want it. Please like and subscribe, and more videos will be coming your way. If you have a knife or a style of blade that you would like to see sharpened, post it in the comments. Let me know. If you have questions, anything, please post a comment and let me know how I can help and what I can do to clarify any more. Have a great day.